Hello and welcome to Africa Watch on the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I pray that you're well wherever you are and in whatever you're doing. Thanks to every single person that has subscribed to the channel. Thanks to every single person that shares and comments on the videos and likes the videos. Don't forget to do so if you haven't already. And don't forget to hit that notification button so that you know every single time that we upload a new episode. To my Patreon and PayPal family, I love you guys. Thank you so much for your financial support. It means the world to me. Now, something very strange is happening, and I thought I'd share this in the Christmas season. China has decided to rewrite the Bible. Now, I don't know if you've been noticing, over the last year, there's been a violent crackdown on Christianity across China. Now, in China, there's about 100 million Christians, which is more than the members of the Communist Party. And so there's always a fear, because as much as the Bible has been tampered with, it has still been used a lot across the world as a liberation theology, as a liberation thesis, as a liberation doctrine. And so China has now decided that they want to crack down on Christianity. So over the last year, we've seen a lot of churches in China getting closed down, to the point where a lot of people now have underground churches, which means churches in their basement, churches in their apartments where friends come over and they share the scriptures and they share the word. But now, after we saw, like in the last month, a lot of 3 major churches were closed down. The third church, actually since September, the biggest ones that were still kind of out there in the public, there was one called Zion Church in Beijing that was closed down. Then there was another one called Early Rain Covenant Church in Chengdu that was shut down. And then recently, a church in Ronguli was shut down. And what happens is that not only is the church shut down, but they confiscate all the Bibles, all the hymn books and everything. And now the Chinese government has actually released a statement that they will be rewriting the Bible. It's a 5-year plan to make Christianity more compatible with socialism. And yeah, they're going to be rewriting the Bible. Can you imagine? But you know what? China actually gets it. When I saw this, I was just like, why aren't we, as the true inheritors of the Bible, as the one, that's our book, why aren't African nations rewriting the Bible? Why aren't African churches, African indigenous churches rewriting the Bible? First of all, changing the fact, changing the color of Yeshua from white to black, just that alone, and letting our people know that we are the ones who are the lost tribes, that the lost tribes are in Africa and dispersed across the world. So as much as I looked at China like, but I was also like, you know what? They know what's up, because, religion, not so much the scriptures and the good book, but religion has been used as a weapon by the white supremacists to enslave people spiritually, to the point where they didn't even have to have machine guns. They didn't even have to have an army present, although they do in Africa. There's armies like in every single nation. Some have 2 or 3. Like here in Kenya, we have the British and we have the American, and I'm sure we're going to be getting the Chinese soon, But anyway, those are stories for other days. But if we look, the brainwashing that happens from the way the scriptures are written, the fact that it creates this white superiority complex, because they gave the Most High a color, although we know, he's melanin. I mean, black. He's black. Let's just keep it like that. Yeshua was this color. But anyway, the fact that they did that actually helped them to conquer the world, because they sent their missionaries everywhere to kind of change the culture, to shift the culture of every indigenous tribe to be the culture of their religion. And it's right now we are existing literally in the new world order, which is the order of one world religion. When you look at how Christianity has shaped the philosophy and political and social culture of the nations of the world. Anyway, that's just my little rant. So now what has happened is, after the radical shutdown of underground Protestant churches in southern China, now President Xi Jinping of China has said he's cracking, not only is he's cracking down on religious freedoms, because he wants to promote Chinese nationalism, identity and culture. So their whole thing is that everything has to look and feel like China. So they want the creation story to look and feel like China. So they've approved By the way, in China, you can only practice certain religious thinking that is approved by the Communist Party. The state also approves certain Protestant churches. Others fall out of the system. And basically, their whole thing is that they want to, they want to bring religion under the Communist Party. And they want to make the Bible characters have more of a Chinese feel. So they're going to add, like to the Old Testament, they're actually going to add some Confucius scriptures. And they're going to retranslate the Bible's Old Testament with some Buddhist scripture as well and Confucius teachings. And they're going to add a whole new commentary to the New Testament. What? Yo, you gotta respect China, man. They ain't playing. I'll be sharing more about the steps they'll be taking in the next 5 years right after this.
Oh, come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel.
Welcome back to Africa Watch on the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki, bringing into light something that may not be African news, but it affects us as an African people, because some of these things, China is rewriting the Bible. That's what we're talking about today. But you see, what we have to realize is that China, 10 years ago, China was a third world country. China was in the dumps. China was down there. But they came up with a strategy. The Communist Party came up with a strategy to take China from being, a third world poor country to one of the superpowers of the world. And we can see it systematically. What they've done is, they've started giving trade. They've basically followed the blueprint of the white supremacists and the colonizer, and they've created a whole neo-colonial system globally, not just in Africa. I've cried about it. I've cried about what's happening in Africa on this channel so much, but also in Europe. I'm hearing also in the Caribbean. I was told also in the US, things like people say New York is gone, LA is gone to the Chinese. Now, another move we've seen is that they're systematically spreading their language. So there's Confucius, schools across the world. A lot of African nations are actually going to be adopting the Chinese language in their curriculum. In fact, Uganda recently announced that from 2019, Chinese will be taught from primary school standard 1 all the way up to university. So that's a second move. And now they're rewriting the Bible, which is so significant. And it shows you what has been said over and over again, that, the Bible has been the greatest weapon of the white supremacist global control. And, it has always been his most powerful PR tool. And it has always brainwashed the masses, because they try to say that the creator looks like them. And that does a lot. That really affects people, even if it's a subtle influence. It really affects the way people think. And, Africa was defeated by a whitewashed Bible and remains in chains because of the overemphasis of the fact that, things like forgive your enemy. If he slaps you on the left cheek, let him slap you on the right cheek. A lot of things, because, what happened is that people didn't read the scriptures for themselves. Yes, the scriptures have been tampered with, but there's also a lot of truth there. And people never read the scriptures themselves. They allowed a preacher or a priest to instruct them. And if you look, there's, I think the Bible is over 600 pages, but there's only certain sermons that people read. And so what you'll find, even what happened with this, with the rebellion of the slaves in the US, what you'll find is that a lot of the liberation movements actually come when people start reading the scriptures from themselves and realizing, and taking on this whole narrative of the enemy and, liberating ourselves from the enemy and how the oppressed, etc. So this is what China doesn't want. China doesn't want to take the risk that one day, the Chinese people, the Chinese Christians will actually have an uprising against the Communist Party, because China knows that religion is a powerful tool in the white supremacist hands, and because they want to become a global superpower, they must safeguard and control the group mind and the group thought of the Chinese people. And so what they've said is they're going to incorporate Chinese elements into worship. So a lot of churches won't be able to have their traditional practices. They're saying that churches have to be built, the church architecture has to be Chinese, the worship service has to be Chinese. They want to incorporate some Buddhist and Confucius teachings as well, which includes like painting and dancing as part of the whole church going experience. They also want to change the worship music and the worship service and the hymns and songs to better reflect the Chinese culture and values. That's what they've said. So they've also said that even the Bible will not look westernized. So even how the Bible is designed, even how the cover is designed, it should look Chinese with a reflection of the Chinese and socialist ethics. Now, a lot of mainstream media have come up and they've been like, oh, China's rewriting the Bible, oh my God. And it just shows that they have now understood. What this proved to me is China has fully understood what it means to become a superpower in this day and age. This is not a small matter. This is not a small thing. And so, do you know how powerful it will be to produce a Chinese Bible with Chinese cultural expressions and voices and a gospel immersed in Chinese culture? And especially now that they're taking their language everywhere, how do we know they won't take this new Bible of theirs everywhere as well? It's time we awaken, guys. It's time we awaken. This is our story, but others are even taking our story and bending it to look like them so that they can empower their people. But this is our story. Why can't we tell the story, the truth, as it is? Anyway, may the Most High bless us and keep us. May His light shine upon us, and it is well. It is well. Amazing things are going to happen in 2019. I'm sure of it.
Wake up!